All right. Well, hi, hello, and welcome to Unlock the Power of Your Customer Data with Snowflake and Salesforce. Now, today's exciting webinar is sponsored by Salesforce and Snowflake and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I am so happy that I get to be your moderator for this conversation today because this whole idea of bring your own lake is such an exciting way to enhance your ability to seamlessly combine customer data collected in Salesforce with data in Snowflake. And this partnership is really cool because it allows for easy and secure integration between Salesforce and Snowflake. And that's going to help you minimize those costs. You can talk about reducing risks and eliminating a lot of those common obstacles that you are probably facing with more traditional ELT models. And I'm guessing that for a lot of you, that's why you're here today. That's what you're looking forward to digging into a little bit more. This is a lot of good things coming at us, a lot of reasons to be pumped up and excited to get into our conversation today. Now, we're going to kick things off very quickly here. I want to get our wonderful expert speakers on out here with us. We definitely want to leave some time for Q&A, so we've got lots to do together today, but we're going to zip through a few of the housekeeping information pieces that are going to help you get the most out of our time here together. So first up, I want to draw your attention over to the questions section of your webinar console. Now, I was mentioning that we want this to be fun and interactive. We want to hear those questions, your comments, feedback, and ideas. We've got some live Q&A planned at the end where we're going to get into a conversation with our speakers, and that is really the best part about these conversations, right? And not only that, but both Salesforce and Snowflake have additional team members here answering questions on live chat. So while our speakers are busy, they're going to try their best to get back to you as they're also presenting because they're wonderful multitaskers. But we also have teams here answering these questions on live chat. So basically, all kinds of resources available to you today, all kinds of reasons to get those questions in. So if you haven't already, let's give it a little test run, make sure that things are working fine for you there and that the brain is firing. So we're going to give a little hi and hello to the community out there with you. Hi, Mike. I see you. Hi, Ben. Hi, Andrew. Oh, we got a whole awesome crew here together today. So say hi, say hello if you haven't already done that. And make sure that you are ready to ask those questions. Hi, Liz. I love this. Hey, Jeffrey. What a crew. All right, my friends. We'll keep those coming in. And also, if you do have any tech issues that come up today, I will remind you, as always, that a browser refresh is definitely going to get rid of a lot of the more common tech issues. But if the gremlins have really got a hold of you today, don't worry about it. Shoot us a message in that questions window, and the Actual Tech Media team will be there to help you out. So browser refresh, step one. Step two, reach out for help, and we are here to chat. I like that Ben says, what a great presentation name in the middle of winter, Snowflake. Yes, definitely. That is exactly, for those of us living in cold places, that is very appropriate for our day here together. And if you're in beautiful, sunshiny, warm places, I don't want to hear about it. All right. Well, just in case that wasn't enough good news for all of you today, I do want to tell you about two more awesome pieces of our webinar. One is the handouts tab. Make sure that you spend some time in that handouts tab, get those additional resources and follow-ups to our conversation here together today. And the second thing is that prize giveaway. If you're seeing that $250 gift card icon on the bottom of that slide there, absolutely 100%. We've got a gift card for you at the end of this webinar. Now, you do need to be here in live attendance during the webinar in order to win, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you're saying to yourself, sounds great, Jess, but I don't know what those terms and conditions are, no problem. We have them linked for you in that handy dandy handouts tab. So head on over to the handouts tab and you can see the full T's and C's waiting for you there. Well, speaking of cool prizes and asking great questions, now I see some great and wonderful humans out there with us today. So I know that I don't need to bribe you to ask questions, but just in case you needed a little extra incentive to get those questions in today, or let's see this as just a reward for your ingenuity and innovative question asking, we have a $50 Amazon gift card that we will be sending out to the best question asked. Now, we're going to review all the questions asked after we wrap up today. So even if your question does not get asked in our live chat a little bit later on, there is still a chance that you will win. So keep those questions coming in, my friends. Okay, well, with that, that was all the housekeeping. That was all the intro stuff we needed to get through. Now we can get into the good stuff. And as you can see, we've got a dynamic duo here with us to kick off our day today. We are going to be chatting with CJ Buskey, lead solution architect at Salesforce, and Chandra Nayak, principal partner sales engineer at Snowflake. All right, let's get our experts out here on camera with me, and then we're going to get things rolling. All right, well, here we are ready to kick things off. CJ, welcome back. So excited to have you back here for a webinar. And Chandra, welcome. I know we're going to have a great chat today. I wanted to start out by giving you guys a chance to introduce yourselves and tell the folks out there with us today a little bit about what is in store for them. What are we going to get into? So CJ, you're our returning veteran here on the webinar. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, thanks again, Jess, for the intro, and glad to be back so soon. So I am CJ Buskey. I'm a lead technical architect here with Salesforce. I've been working at Salesforce for about the last 6+ years or so, and I am based here in New York City.
Awesome. All right, Chandra. Oh, hang on, Chandra. I think we got you muted. Somebody's got to do it. There we go. Now it's a real call. If it's not a real webinar if somebody doesn't come in muted. Chandra, go.
Hey, thanks, CJ. And I'm Chandra Nayak. I'm a principal partner architect here at Snowflake. I've been here for about 2 years. And in this role, I'm working with Salesforce companies to basically build integrations between the two companies. I love working in this space because this allows two powerful platforms to be brought together, where one actually becomes a system of engagement, runs critical business processes, and the other actually provides data insights and prediction. So it's a powerful combination, and I really enjoy in getting these two worlds together.
You know, I love that. And I have to say, we've done a couple of calls and things getting ready, as we always do for this webinar. And both of you, it's so clear how much you love what you do and the solutions that we're going to be talking about today. And I think that's such an exciting thing when our speakers are really pumped up. It's hard not to fall in love ourselves. So we have an audience that is primed, ready to fall in love with Salesforce and Snowflake. I can't wait to jump in. So CJ, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I know. Kind of going already, Jess, into the Valentine's Day themes here coming up in the new year, right? Just getting shot in the heart here with an arrow from Salesforce. But I think it'd be good, just to start and talk real quick for anybody on the line that is not as familiar, both with what these two companies do and really what are the challenges and the problems that we ultimately are working together to help solve. And I think it'd be good to first quickly just dive into really what is the crux of what Salesforce is helping achieve and solve for in this space. So at Salesforce, our vision has really always been to help you connect with customers in a whole new way. We've been the leader in CRM since 1999, and we really helped start and build out the software as a service model. And can't believe we're coming up here on our 25th anniversary of that. So really amazing stuff that we've been continuing to do this and delivering that level of success for customers for 25 years now. I mentioned the CRM piece, but Salesforce is a lot more than that, right? We're what we call a customer 360, or an entire portfolio of products and services, including the world's #1 CRM. So when we think of customer 360, we really think of that as helping with our business purpose-built apps, such as Sales Cloud. That's the one that I'm sure most of you, if you have heard of Salesforce, are familiar with. They think of it as almost kind of like a digital Rolodex. But we also are a leader in the service industry in terms of being able to help with different service automation. We're actually the #1 service automation solution in the technology space. Marketing Cloud, being able to deliver personalized engagement at scale. Commerce Cloud for helping maximize revenue through a commerce platform, and with Slack to really help connect your teams, apps, and partners. These apps, they run on a powerful low-code platform, and that's going to allow you to build fast and innovate at the speed of your customers. And our platform includes what we call Hyperforce. This is essentially our trusted cloud infrastructure. No, it's not a quote from Star Wars. It is our cloud infrastructure with data residency and compliance built in. And this also helps us enable things and automating processes such as Salesforce Flow, which is going to help you automate complex processes, eliminate mundane tasks that you would typically have in your kind of day-to-day, and also leveraging Einstein, which is kind of our branding for our native artificial intelligence, which uses deep learning and predictive insights, anticipating your customers' needs. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned here that is, I think, really integral to the future of where Salesforce is going is Data Cloud. And Data Cloud is where you can connect all of your Salesforce data from any app in the Customer 360 and bring in data from any device or real-time stream with out-of-the-box connectors. And with Data Cloud, you can help connect, federate, harmonize all of your data from any product and system in Salesforce. And this really helps you democratize your data so it's more easily available to users in Salesforce or other downstream applications. So this allows your service agents, your sales reps, and marketers to engage with their customers in a more personalized and relevant way. But we all obviously need a lot of data to help make that happen. And so we've been building a partnership with Snowflake, which I know, Chandra, you can talk more about how Snowflake is a big player in that space in terms of being able to help harmonize and bring data together as well.
I just wanted to quickly introduce Snowflake here. And I think most of you probably would have already heard about Snowflake, but nonetheless, let me state the purpose of Snowflake as a company, right? Snowflake was founded by industry veterans Fiore and Benoit in 2012. Their idea was to basically provide a cloud scale data warehouse and with all the bells and whistles of a traditional data warehouse that can be used for businesses to drive analytics with all the governance and security requirements, right? And it was first launched in 2015, and then it's now offered across all hyperscale cloud providers. And 2020 was a big day when Snowflake went IPO. It was the biggest IPO in the tech industry. And now Snowflake has tens of thousands of customers with thousands of partners in the ecosystem as well. And Salesforce is one of the premier partner where we are, through this integration, we are enabling Salesforce data into Snowflake and vice versa. The traditional data architecture that you might be aware of is where customers have multiple business systems. They have operational data sitting in these systems. And to get from raw data to insights, customers have a very complex web of technologies. It's not easy to put all these technologies together. And even if once you put them, there is a constant babysitting of this integrations and data pipelines, and anything that breaks will essentially cause downtime for your critical decision makers, right? And this prompted Snowflake to build a solution that can really address this at scale and also bring down the complexity of integrations and data pipelines. And we can see in the next slide where how Snowflake, with its unique architecture, provides unlimited scale in terms of your storage. You can store any amounts of data, whether it's structured, semi-structured, or unstructured data. You can store across any cloud solution. You're not restricted to select a cloud solution, right? You can choose multiple different cloud solutions for yourself. And beyond that, Snowflake provides you the multi-clustered compute, which means the storage and compute are decoupled. You can run multiple different workloads all at the same time without any concurrency concerns on your data. You could choose any compute style or size based on your cost requirements, and all of them work without really impacting each other. And the third layer, as you can see, the cloud services layer is a layer within Snowflake that manages the metadata, your security, role-based access control. All these capabilities are handled out of the box, and the data access is continuously optimized for performance. So you don't have to turn a lot of knobs, right? All you do is you execute your queries and you get your data real fast. And Snowflake is a global network. So your data or application is accessible at any part of the world in any cloud without really you needing to replicate all of this data. It's through the SnowGrid technology, we make that data available for you with a click of a button. And the most interesting aspect of it is with the Snowflake collaboration capabilities, we allow first and third party data to be shared between partners and vendors, which is what we will see. We leverage that capability for this integration.
Yeah, so thank you, Chandra, for giving a great overview there of Snowflake, and I think it's a great transition, obviously, to go into what this partnership means, right? And Chandra had talked about these different third-party kind of vendors that Snowflake is very easily able to work with and be able to integrate with, and to be able to help also continually deliver value for. And we look at that as the same way. In fact, actually, with Snowflake in particular, partnering with Snowflake is nothing new for us. Partnering with Snowflake started actually back in 2015. Tableau, which is our business intelligence solution, that made a bet and decided to build an integration to, at the time, a lot of people hadn't really heard of Snowflake except during the winter seasons, right, outside of your house. But this bet paid off. We have been adding new features ever since with Snowflake. We actually have over 4,000 joint customers between Tableau and Snowflake. And fun fact, actually over 70% of Snowflake customers use Tableau. We've since continued to partner with Snowflake, building integrations to other parts of the Salesforce platform, including a CRM analytics integration, as well as a MuleSoft-based integration in 2020. And what I'm most excited to talk to you about today, and what the reason everybody is here, is to talk more about that latest integration between Salesforce Data Cloud and the Snowflake platform. All of these solutions help our customers connect their data efficiently so they can fully leverage their data to help drive better business outcomes. So if you've been talking to customers about Salesforce Data Cloud and they already have Snowflake implemented, there's a high chance that you've been hearing that Snowflake has a data cloud as well. Now, that naming is confusing, but we really do mean different things when we each talk about our data clouds. So let's start with Snowflake's data cloud. Now, it takes a tremendous amount of time for your IT teams to help maintain, update, support integrations when you're thinking of a traditional kind of ETL and building security and governance models across your pipeline. These integrations, they're also expensive to maintain. They're brittle, maybe most difficult of all. They must follow growing security and privacy and compliance regulations that we've seen emerging across the world. And while our Snowflake partnership has evolved, sharing data between Snowflake and Salesforce has not always been easy. Customers would first need to design and build those data pipelines between the two. Even if customers leverage our native connectors between Tableau, CRMA, and MuleSoft, they still need to map data to the right models and ultimately move data back and forth between applications to use the data for activation, segmentation, etc. And so that leads us to today, and we've come up with a better way to do this. So we developed a new way to connect these two platforms together. This integration, it's done through what we call a zero ETL, which is a method that allows Salesforce Data Cloud to use federated queries in order to make this very valuable Snowflake data available within your Salesforce ecosystem. Salesforce Data Cloud does not store this data. It stays in Snowflake, so you don't have to replicate the data, but Salesforce Data Cloud will mount this data as virtual tables that can be leveraged for capabilities such as identity resolution, segmentation, and activation downstream. And not only can we query data from Snowflake to be made available in Salesforce Data Cloud, but we can also leverage data sharing. And that's going to allow Salesforce to more easily share sales, service, marketing data back with Snowflake. Chandra, can you talk more about why that data would be so valuable for Snowflake users and how this makes data pipelines between Salesforce easier to manage?
Sure, CJ. And as you just talked about, where Salesforce Snowflake data is made available into Salesforce, the data sharing capability makes Salesforce data available in Snowflake. And one of the key reasons why we built this integration was the existing data pipelines are brittle and you do not have access to all Salesforce data. With this unique integration that we have built with data sharing, we can access all Salesforce data within Snowflake. And typically customers want to bring their customer data from Salesforce ecosystem combine it with their operational data that they have in Snowflake, which might be coming from various ERP systems, or it might be third-party data, or it might be coming from IoT devices, and landing in Snowflake. They want to combine this data so that they can drive better business insights, right? They can understand new opportunities that might come for the business. Also, this enables data scientists now to have all of their data at one place, whether it's customer or business data or operational data, all of that having in one place to really write powerful data models and their machine learning algorithms and build, come up with personalized recommendations at scale and serve those recommendations back into Salesforce through this unique bidirectional integration that we have with Salesforce Data Cloud. Yeah, I guess now that you have heard about this unique integration that we have been building, you might be wondering like how long this is going to cook for, right? And how long do you have to wait to get your hands on? Uh, so precisely, we are almost out of the gate with this integration, right? We have the data sharing from Salesforce to Snowflake on select regions already in GA. In and making data available from Snowflake to Salesforce, it's going to go GA by end of February. It's in pilot right now. By end of February next month, we'll probably have this as GA, and customers have this entire bidirectional integration available for them to use in their business.
Okay, lots of exciting stuff coming. Well, I feel like we've gotten a lot of really great information as well as some nerdy Star Wars references. Well done, CJ. And I think that what would be really great for me and for the audience would be to start to maybe try to see some of this in action, because I think it's one thing to kind of talk about the idea and the possibilities, and it's another thing to see how it's actually going to come into play and affect your day to day and make your life better and easier. And that's what we're here for, right? So CJ, can we take a look at this? Can we get an action shot of how Salesforce and Snowflake can really impact the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this would be a great time to kind of show the goods, right? To peek under the hood and be able to kind of go through and demonstrate this solution.
Yes, I like it. Okay, we're out here kicking tires now. We're going to lift up the hood. We're going to see what's in the engine there. Let's do it. I'm going to change up our screens here so we can get over to our demo.
Thanks, Jess. Okay, so we are here in our environment. Just as there's a famous college football commentator I used to listen to, Keith Jackson, he used to say, you're looking live here. Well, we're looking live at a Salesforce instance. Very exciting compared to the Rose Bowls that he used to run play-by-play for. So you can see, though, what we're going to try to frame this demo around is a company, or a fictional company called Northern Trail Outfitters. Very similar to, think of it almost as like a North Face for Salesforce. And what they do, right? They sell hiking equipment. They sell that type of apparel, boots, jackets, tents, you name it. And in this case, NTO, they have Snowflake, they have Service Cloud, and they also have Data Cloud. And what we're going to hone in on is that there's a customer here who has recently bought a jacket from NTO, but that jacket was delivered and it was damaged. The zipper didn't zip and there was a tear. And so what do we typically do whenever we get a faulty delivery? Well, we complain. We call customer service. And in this case, we've got Mary who wants to call because they're upset, and they contact NTO support. So as part of that in Service Cloud, we've got a service agent who is then assigned to help out with that case. But before reaching out to Mary, before we can help her service to help close this case and be able to come to some sort of resolution, we want to try and understand all of this individual's recent transactions and get a little bit more information on who Mary McDaniel may be. So we want to try and answer questions such as, when have they previously purchased? Are they a recent? Are they a new customer? What's potentially the lifetime value of this given customer? Are they a loyalist? Are they somebody that's just brand new to NTO? And while we can store a lot of data that can be valuable and accessible for the service agent, a lot of that may also not be available within Service Cloud and may be within NTO Snowflake instance.
Yeah, and CJ, we do see a lot of businesses actually bring data from their operations, like the commerce that's happening on their website, or whether it's happening in the brick and mortar stores, They bring all of that data in Snowflake. They also bring third-party data like experience to understand whether the customer is creditworthy, right? So you have a Snowflake marketplace from which you can bring many different data sets to understand your customer better when combining first-party data that you have about that customer as well as third-party data. And all of that data can be leveraged using data federation to power Service Cloud interactions much better.
Yeah, so let's try and get access to that data, right? And how quickly can we be able to bring that data and make it available within Salesforce Data Cloud so that we can surface it to help out that service agent? So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go into Salesforce Data Cloud. So you can see what we are able to do is we have a number of different connectors that we can bring in data to make available. That we can build a customer 360, kind of build that unified profile. So you'll see we have all of our native Salesforce apps here, Marketing Cloud, CRM, Commerce. We also have our open REST-based APIs that we can be able to ingest data from, as well as our object storage connectors that we can be able to pull in data from any of the major cloud computing vendors such as AWS, Azure, and GCP. In this case, though, we want to bring in that data that Chandra had just talked about, those transactions, those sales for customers from Snowflake, and bring that into Data Cloud. So what I'm going to do here is I just select Data Cloud as my data stream, and I'm going to go and click Connection. From there, we want to look and pull in our sales data. So I'm going to select our sales database. You can see right here, just like on that previous screen within Snowflake, we have all of those available object and schemas that we can be able to run those federated queries from. In this case, I'm going to just select our customer object here. We'll give this a name. Give it a profile category because this is going to be related for demographics, potentially for a given customer. And then from here, I can select any one of these different fields or attributes that are existing in that Snowflake hosted data database and bring that and make that available here within Salesforce Data Cloud. Oh, looks like we just need to select a primary key, no problem. And I'll just give a different API name here. We'll select our data space. Okay, we're ready to deploy this. And bingo, we've got our data stream right here with that table from that sales database in Snowflake available to leverage here within Snowflake Data Cloud or Salesforce Data Cloud. And Chandra, there's other data here too, not just the sales data that would be valuable, right? We're thinking also like different types of like predictive scores or potentially like CSAT scores, those different types of data points that would also be valuable to bring in here as well, right?
Yeah. Again, we see a lot of customers of Snowflake actually running machine learning models on top of Snowflake to understand what's the lifetime value of a customer, what's the next best offer that we can offer to the customer, or it could be, hey, what is like, how many members are there in this household? What are their likes and patterns that they choose? You can run these ML models and then surface the predictions of those models through this data federation capability into Snowflake, right? This is something that we see with a lot of customers doing when they have first-party and third-party data to understand their customer, not only today, but they can also predict what their future behavior could be.
Yeah, and that could be super valuable for a sales rep or for, in this case, our service agent, so that they can answer that previous question we had around, what is their propensity to open a case? What is their lifetime value? Should we treat this customer or provide, escalate this case quicker to be able to, help service this in a faster manner than a previous or kind of, typical customer? So you can see here, we've brought in that customer lifetime value that we are bringing in directly here that we can pull from Snowflake, as well as any of that sales and purchase data. All of this is available. If you're familiar with working in Salesforce, it's as simple as just showcasing it as a related list. So we can have those purchases. You can see, for example, that Mary has bought a jacket, hiking boots, and a tent, as well as what was her most recent score on an experience survey. So we can at least surmise for this agent that this is typically a happy customer but we want to make sure that we incorporate any of this personalized feedback from those different transactions in order to help service that case.
All right, well, that was awesome. I'm very glad we were able to help Mary. Mary seems like good people. I'm glad we were able to help out with that jacket. And I think there's clearly a lot of awesome data being collected here. I'm really curious to kind of dig into this a little bit further. And what I would love to know next, CJ, if you can kind of walk us through on this guided tour we're taking today, is how does that data actually get shared back with Snowflake? What does that next step look like?
Yeah, no, definitely it's going to be super valuable to actually, take data that's coming from Salesforce and then be able to more easily share that back with Snowflake, right? We want to be able to close that loop between Salesforce and Snowflake so it's more easy to be able to share data between the two. So let's go into and help answer that question, Jess, and talk about the data sharing capabilities as part of this partnership. So we're going to go back to our example here with our case from NTO. Hopefully, at this point, we have that case that's been resolved. Mary's happy. We've given her some sort of discount or coupon on her next jacket, and we no longer have to service this case. But we want to, feed information back to Snowflake that we could potentially be used for some sort of analysis or building some sort of prediction, such as, hey, what was the time to close this case, for example? Was the time to close quicker because we had some of this related data on purchases available? How are cases in terms of customers that have a high lifetime value versus low lifetime value, and what is typically that time to close or call deflection, those types of metrics as well. So we have this closed case. We've got this valuable Salesforce data that Salesforce now has hosted within its application. We want to be able to share that back easily with Snowflake. So let's bring back in Data Cloud here to make another cameo. What we're going to go back into Data Cloud to do is to open up a capability we call data shares. So you can see we've got a couple of different data shares from our NTO instance that we're able to use. What I'm going to do is just call this a cases data share. And we are going to select our data space. From there, you can see any of those different data model objects that you've got mapped within Data Cloud. If you're not familiar, again, with DLOs, DMOs, or any of those acronyms, don't worry. Think about it as just any of those kind of standard Salesforce or custom Salesforce objects that you want to be able to easily share back. In this case, you can see we've got many different objects, but we're going to select, you guessed it, our case object. And then from there, we can get this to go there. Yep. We've got our data share that we've got ended up being created as part of this. So now we have our case object. And you can see that there are other different types of objects that you're able to share back as well. Chandra had talked a little bit earlier about how you can be able to share different types of propensity scores and predictions from Snowflake. But we can do the same thing too from Salesforce that you may have available that you want also to be leveraged for your different types of predictions within Snowflake too. You can see there's an example here of what we call like our calculated insights objects for that. In this case, what I need to do, I need to make sure that I add my Snowflake instance to share that data with. So I'm going to click this link data share target, select my Snowflake instance. And from there, we've got the data share that's starting to process. If you've noticed, Jess, I don't know if you're a programmer. I work with code, but I can't really develop it. We didn't have to write any code to do this, right? We were able to just do this all with clicks. Super easy to be able to share this back with Snowflake. We've got that data share status. It's gone to active. And now we're going to go into Snowflake. And Chandra, where would we end up finding this whenever we share it back with Snowflake?
So any data that gets shared to Snowflake in your account appears under private share. With just 3 clicks, you shared Salesforce data into Snowflake. And as you can see, under a minute, that data has come across to Snowflake, right? You did not build any data pipelines, don't have to worry about permissions, roles, and so on. Just with 3 clicks, the data is now available for Snowflake. Now, as a Snowflake admin, you can just go create a database on top of it and give access to that database to your analysts who might want to you leverage Tableau to drive analytics, just as you said, CJ. you might want to wonder, is this zip case on the jacket related to a specific kind of lot that was received from a specific vendor? You want to understand what's the impact if large number of customers are going to call you back and ask for a return. You want to predict what is the impact of their business. You want to run a model on top of, to evaluate this. All of that is easily possible now because you have case data within Snowflake, and we can now access that whether you want to access it in SQL or Python, right? It's just like any other Salesforce data that you can run a query on top of it. Yeah, as you can see here, this is a Python code that's actually accessing the case data that came from Salesforce, and we have it as a data frame, which is essential to train any model and test your predictions. You don't have to do much in terms of accessing Salesforce data in Snowflake. With this data pipelines, you always have fresh data, right? It's not like you have to keep copying data once in a while and you're worried about the latency. All of that is taken care for you through this integration. Every time you query, you get the most recent data, and with extremely near real time latency, you have all of the Salesforce data within Snowflake. That's pretty cool for a lot of customers who have always struggled to get these two systems closer to each other.
Yeah, Chandra, I had mentioned up front, you're looking live. That used to be like one of my favorite lines from the Keith Jackson that I had heard earlier. But in reality, we are really looking live here at Salesforce data that's being brought and exposed here for Snowflake to be able to leverage. So just as Chandra had mentioned, we had talked about kind of in the first part of this demo that we have a live look at data that's housed here within Snowflake. It's as easy as just those simple clicks to build that data pipeline, to build that data share, and to have that live look on the Salesforce data side as well. So it's really helping make these data pipelines more efficient, helping streamline this so you can, deploy faster and also get value out of this data, both within Snowflake and within Salesforce Data Cloud, to be able to help deliver value back to the business in a faster and kind of lower cost manner.
Yeah, and I do agree with CJ. You should not spend more time managing your data pipelines than really using that data to drive insights to the business. And that's what this integration achieves.
That's so exciting, guys. And I love that. I was thinking, CJ, I found myself right at the end of your demo thinking, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Look at all the cool things you can do. And if you had told me like 20 years ago that I was going to be really excited about data, I would not have believed you. But you're right. It's the insights. It's the action steps. It's all the things that are opened up by understanding our customers, and having that data is so important. This has been so interesting to kind of walk through and see it in action. So I'm really excited about that. Before we get into our next step here, I'm actually going to pull up an audience question, because we got a question that came in from the audience, CJ, and I thought maybe it would be nice to take a quick step back and dig into one of the things that we were talking about at the start of our webinar, because we were talking about data clouds with Salesforce and with Snowflake. And we got a question that came in that was maybe still a little unclear about the differentiation between them. So I was going to ask you, before we get into the end of our presentation here, if I could get you to go back and kind of reiterate the differentiation there.
Sure. Yeah. No, and I'm glad someone was able to hit on that and reference that again. But yeah, to be clear, again, you'll see a lot of lingo or kind of marketing in the space that there is a Snowflake data cloud, Salesforce data cloud. Again, they are two very different things. Salesforce data cloud, think of that as more of a a business application that we're able to leverage data from other data warehouses, data lakes such as Snowflake, that we can bring that and make sure that we can segment, get value, and activate that downstream. Whereas Snowflake data cloud is going to really be and Chandra, I'm sure you'd be happy to add some more detail here, but that's going to be really kind of your source of truth in terms of your database and where you're actually storing and bringing that data to run those different types of complex compute operations.
That's right. As you stated, we are complementary rather than competitive, right? Where Salesforce is really good is in terms of being the system of engagement with the customer, managing customer details, interactions. And where Snowflake really does well is being able to handle operational data at scale and bring insights out of that data. And once you have those insights, you can drive those actions back in Salesforce. So through this data cloud integration. So we don't really like compete. We actually complement to drive a unique solution in the market. And it's going to drive productivity across business functions. As you can see, this integration drives use cases across marketing, sales, service.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point, Chandra, to bring up. And I wanted to also hit on this, Jess, too. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to talk through some of the different customers and really the pilot customers that we had built this as a pilot together to start to kind of gather feedback on who are those different users, different personas that would really benefit from this partnership. And you can see we touch a lot of different areas of the business. So think of that from the marketing standpoint, right? You can, of course, I'm sure there are a number of marketers that may be on the phone that are already getting excited thinking about, oh my goodness, I've been asking for this segmentation type of data that I can start to use in specific types of journeys, being able to use that data in custom AI models to predict customer preferences. But also you have other aspects or other personas, such as like your sales manager being able to integrate opportunity data that's shared in near real time from Salesforce. We have our data scientists, right? Those are the ones building the AI and machine learning models in Snowflake to determine, just like Chandra had mentioned earlier, some of those different purchase propensity scores. So we can now actually expose that, make that much easier to be used within Sales or Service Cloud, just as you kind of saw an example earlier in the demo. And then also our different analysts that can make better and more informed decisions by merging some of those different historical sales and contact data from Salesforce and that web analytics data within Snowflake. So if they want to be able to run those different types of visualizations and something like, for example, Tableau, you can be able to have that data available and merge that with that other data that you would already have valuable within Snowflake to start generating those different types of queries. So just wanted to call this out because it really is just a partnership that is kind of benefiting all areas of the business and not so much focused on, hey, this is only going to benefit your data science team, or it's only a marketing based solution. It really is something that I think can be an enterprise kind of game changer for most companies.
And CJ, if I may add, while these are like these are the pilot customers and these are the use cases that we saw, we have had very interesting conversations with businesses in finance industry where they want to actually leverage insights that Snowflake can generate to have a intelligent conversation about portfolios with a customer, right? So if business banks are using Salesforce Finance Cloud, right, they can have a better understanding of their customer, their taste, and then position appropriate portfolios. We see use cases in Health Cloud where unstructured data like X-ray images scanned from in Snowflake, and that can drive actions within customer health journey using Health Cloud. So this integration is going to address various industries requirements as well.
This is really interesting, and I always really appreciate seeing use cases and kind of understanding the direct impact on the human end here. And one of the things that I think is really exciting, and being a little tongue-in-cheek about getting excited about data is I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't have guessed that data would have impacted their job. That, I mean, sure, we need information that to do our jobs. But I think when we think about data and data sets, there's a lot of people that are probably working with some of these solutions that would not have necessarily guessed that this was going to play as large a role in their job as it does today. And the opportunities that have been opened up by it is just so thrilling, and across the organization. So it's a really cool kind of cross section, really breaking down silos with a lot of these the data sets, and then solutions like what you're offering here, where anyone can can access it. And CJ, to your point, no, I'm not a programmer. And so even I could pull useful data from here, and that is saying something. CJ, I can see you've got up on the screen here some resources and kind of next steps for folks. And I do want to I wish we didn't have to wrap things up at all, because I could do webinar after webinar of demos with you guys. But I think we're going to wrap up our conversation and switch a little bit more towards Q&A with our audience, because we do have some great questions coming in. But before we actually jump into that Q&A, could you give, for anyone out there that is looking for that next step, that way to get started, what do we have on the screen for them here? What do you recommend as a first step?
Yeah, well, obviously, as you kind of went through that webinar, you don't need to go out and learn Python. You don't need to go out and start becoming a master of SQL-based queries. All you need to do, if you want more information or to see how you can learn more between this partnership between Salesforce and Snowflake, the first thing would just be to contact your sales rep here at Snowflake or Salesforce to talk about, hey, I saw this awesome webinar in terms of how we can be able to more easily share data between the two. They will be able to set up another conversation. Happy to also be able to do a little bit more of a deeper dive into this integration and how that works. Would definitely encourage everybody to explore. We have a Salesforce and Snowflake webpage that we will have linked here that you can be able to go to as well. And our new data sharing, just to make sure, I wanted to highlight here, if you are a data cloud, Salesforce Data Cloud customer, Snowflake data sharing so data coming from Salesforce Data Cloud to Snowflake, that is GA. We are hoping to hopefully have the federated piece, federated queries live here by end of February for generally available. But yes, the data sharing, that is generally available today. So if you have a Data Cloud, Salesforce Data Cloud instance, you can go in and play around with that.
Perfect. All right. Well, we've got lots of audience questions rolling in, and so I want to make sure we leave some time to answer a few of these. Chandra, I've picked out a couple of questions that I'm going to start with you, and then CJ, I'm going to put you on ice because I have a few questions for you as well. So let's dive into this. Chandra, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
All righty. Okay, well, let's start with this question here, because security is top of mind. That is on everyone's radar. And we got a couple of questions about security. So question here, can I control who gains access to specific Salesforce data in Snowflake and vice versa? What do you think, Chandra?
Yeah, Jess, I think security and privacy are like important for any business, and across the globe, we see more and more privacy control requirements coming, right? And that has been taken into consideration while building this integration as well. And what you can do when you share Salesforce data to Snowflake, the access to is given to the account admin, which is the highest privileged account within Snowflake, and they can control through role-based access control who within Snowflake users can get access to that data. They can also put policies across, like masking policies, to make sure that certain fields are not visible to certain set of people accessing this data in a certain region. So you have access to all Snowflake security and governance policies on top of this data that is shared from Salesforce to Snowflake.
Yeah, and I'll just add to Chandra's point. I mean, we have, permissioning and, different types of security within the Data Cloud side as well. So if you want to make sure that you don't have, for example, a admin that is setting up a data share with Snowflake or specific data that you don't want them to make available, we have, if you're familiar with working ever with like permission sets within Salesforce, those applicable as well on the Data Cloud front. And we also do have data spaces as our way to kind of partition and segregate out data in different virtual environments within Data Cloud to make that more easy in terms of helping limit access control on the Data Cloud side as well.
Okay, all right. So lots of options there. We've got another question here that is a future thinker, a forward-looking audience member. Would like to know where we're going next. So question, what can you share with us in regard to future roadmaps for the integration?
Yeah, that's again a very interesting question, because we constantly think about, in the technology world, what can we do next, right? And with all the hype about Gen AI, what are the use cases that are going to open up with your business data and your operational data all in one place. And we are having these conversations with customers. To and also to bridge the world of privacy, we have a capability called data clean rooms, right? Where it's you can actually bring two data sets uh, and not expose each other's private information, but can find common attributes. So that way, you can understand your customer better without actually sharing your data to a third party or the third party sharing private information to you, you still are able to identify common attributes and enrich your understanding of your customer. What we see with this integration, we have seen customers asking for this capability so that they can bring enriched data from third party without sharing this uh, private information through data clean rooms. And once you have that enriched data, they want to use it for marketing purposes, right? So, or they want to use it for service purposes. They want to use this data that's not available within the organization, but sits outside, but can only be brought in a very secure and privacy managed method. And that's what data clean room does. And we see that a possibility going forward with this integration. Also, we see a lot of capabilities being built by Salesforce and Snowflake around Gen AI for personalized messaging, right? Uh, Ability to understand unstructured data and make sense of it and have this personalized conversations with customers. Now, the capabilities that Salesforce is building on their platform will not only be able to access Salesforce data to have a personalized conversation with the customer, but it can also leverage Snowflake data and have much more enriched personalized conversation with that end customer.
All right, so lots of exciting stuff in the future. That's awesome. And I have a few more questions here, but I think I'm going to send these over to CJ. So, CJ, you're back in the hot seat. You ready?
Let's go.
Alrighty, I am going to start with this one here for you, CJ. We did get a couple of questions coming in about the zero ETL approach versus an API-led approach. And so I'm going to ask you to kind of dig in on that a little bit more and maybe give us a little bit more detail about how the zero ETL capability works and maybe take that deep dive with us, CJ. Is that a good place to start?
Yeah, no, happy to talk a little bit more in depth about the zero ETL versus an API led approach, which, if you've been working with ETL, honestly, just kind of based approaches or integrations, API led approaches have been really the standard for decades, right? And the ability with zero ETL is that most modern data warehouses support an open source table abstraction. So think of it as like a iceberg, or if you're working like Databricks Delta or SQL based abstraction via JDBC. And what we're able to do is actually leverage that so that we can be able to, when you have data that is available or mapped within your schema within Snowflake, we can be able to mount that as what we would call as a virtual table, or mount that as an external object within Salesforce Data Cloud. Once that has been mounted, we've essentially mapped the appropriate metadata. We can then execute a SQL-based or query federation in order to basically populate and access that data. So if you have data that is available, again, you kind of saw within the demo, if there's data available within specific like transactions or sales, we can, once we have the data federated and created the essentially that external object, we're able to then just use the SQL-based federation in order to access and then execute really any of the Salesforce Data Cloud services, such as identity resolution, calculated insights, segmentation. We can be able to seamlessly federate over JDBC to query that live data from your data warehouse.
Perfect. Okay. Cruising through these, I am going to go to this question next because actually, you know what? I'm kind of consolidating two or three questions, CJ. We got a couple of high fives in from folks really appreciating the use cases that you gave us. And I do think, as we talked about a little bit earlier, seeing that kind of real time application is so important. Wondering if you could give us a few more of those use cases, because I think that did really resonate with folks out there, and maybe some examples of where you've seen this be really positive, or maybe if there was an unexpected use case, anything that you've got for us along those lines.
Sure. I mean, I think the first thing I would say is go click rewind, right, and and go walk through the demo again, because that is already, I think, a really prevalent use case that we've seen customers having success with. I'd also say there's two other divisions or areas we've seen a lot of positive feedback. One would be from the data scientist or kind of the data analyst community. I know we kind of highlighted that on the one slide prior, but being able to have a much easier way to securely share Salesforce data back with Snowflake has really helped enhance the types and make it much quicker in order to be able to build the types of models, the types of propensity models that they might already be kind of trying to use, that they can then ultimately deliver back to help out the business. So not only from the data sharing side, where we just have a much easier way now to share back Salesforce data that can be used for those data science teams, anybody that's trying to kind of build those particular models within Snowflake, but then also the ability, once there is those different types of scores or outcomes that they have built, to share that back and be able to expose that easily to the business. So think of it as if you're a sales rep and you have a customer that maybe you're looking for a cross-sell or upsell opportunity. You have that data science team that's already built maybe some sort of predictive insight that you want to be able to surface. In the past, there would have been a lot of ETL that would have been required to be able to surface that. You would have also had to build some pieces on the process automation or flow side, for example, within Salesforce, to be able to appropriately find the correct record and then have that actually displayed for that sales rep to use. With the data federation and the data sharing that we have now with Snowflake, makes that much more seamless. It's a lot quicker to be able to share that data back and forth and then be able to showcase that insight. The only other example I would give, and that one that we've seen again as kind of a primary use case, has definitely been on the marketing side. If you want to be able to create more audiences and customer insights to help power more of those personalized customer journeys, data that's stored in your data lake or data warehouse, such as Snowflake, there might be a lot of data there that could really help enrich a customer profile or a customer segment that you want to be able to use. Traditionally, in the past, though, it would be kind of hard to assimilate or figure out how much of that data do you want to actually use for that given segment. Do you want to even copy that over to bring that over to something like Salesforce Marketing Cloud in order to be able to use within a journey? By being able to make that available now within Data Cloud, and also not having to necessarily copy over all of that data, makes it much easier for marketers to be able to create those types of segments, and then more of those kind of personalized journeys that they want to be able to ultimately communicate with their customers.
CJ, I wish we could keep going with this conversation, but I think actually that's probably a perfect place to leave it. You've given us a lot of really cool opportunities and ways that this can make, impact. And we talked about this earlier, right? That impacting in ways that maybe we wouldn't necessarily have thought of right away, and across silos, across the organization, which is a really exciting opportunity. And I want to thank both you and Chandra for being here with us for this wonderful presentation, sticking around for the Q&A. We do have those links that you were chatting about a little bit earlier. So if anyone does want to access those follow-ups, please do click on the links you see up on the screen, as well as visiting your handouts tab. Make sure that you click on the handouts tab, open up those resources, save that for later. CJ, I'm going to, since I've got the mic with you right now, I'm going to ask you for a final thought. If there was one thing that you want everyone in the audience today to walk away thinking about, knowing, understanding, what would that one thing be?
I think the number one thing I would just emphasize is the ability to more easily just access your data, right? And being able to do more with your data, whether that be in Snowflake, whether that be in Salesforce Data Cloud, we, with this partnership, have really now cut down, I think, a lot of barriers or obstacles traditionally that would be there in the past, especially if you're working with your IT team. So that would be my number one takeaway, is just more just easier access to data, and also being able to more quickly get value out of that data.
That is a great takeaway and a great place to leave it. CJ, thank you. Chandra, thank you. What a fun day we've had with you. I hope we get to chat with you both again soon.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Jess.
All right. And for everyone out there, if you haven't already done that, again, click on those links, visit your handouts tab, make sure that you've got those takeaways and follow-ups to the conversation that we just had with Chandra and CJ. So many good things rolling around. Yeah, Bob just says, thank you. I agree, Bob. Big old thank you to our wonderful speakers here today. What a cool conversation. And I love when we get to be a part of these interactive discussions and really dig in and explore a partnership like this together and some of the opportunities that are coming out of it. Now, speaking of opportunities, I have a prize giveaway coming up right here. So we are going to do a $250 Amazon gift card, and that is going to someone who is here live and present at the webinar. And that special someone is James Shore from Texas. James Shore from Texas. Not only do you get to live in bright, sunshiny Texas, now you've got $250 Amazon gift card to spend. We will follow up with you after we wrap, James, so stay tuned for that. Also, a reminder that we've got that $50 Amazon gift card coming at you. So thank you to everyone who asked a question. We will follow up with our winner. Well, with that, my friends, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to once again thank Salesforce and Snowflake for making this webinar possible, especially to our incredible speakers, CJ and Chandra. As I said, you've given us a lot to think about today, lots of cool takeaways. And as always, my biggest high fives. Thanks, Eddie. I see some high fives coming from you. And great question asking today, Eddie, as well. So on that note, big thank yous, big high fives, big gold stars to everyone out there in the audience for making this conversation possible. You know, these opportunities where we get to sit around the table together, the virtual table, and even though we don't get to see each other, we know we're out there and we're sharing ideas and we're sharing this conversation. And it really is an awesome example of this sort of partnership, right? You know, Snowflake and Salesforce coming together and creating these new opportunities to change the world of customer data for all of us, right? And that's why we're here together today too, to learn from one another, to be a part of this collaborative partnership and this collaborative learning opportunity. And I just absolutely love that. So thank you all so much for coming and joining and giving us some of your time today, giving us some of your energy today, and for being a part of that conversation. I know that I have learned a ton and gotten a lot out of our conversation. I hope you all have as well. I can't wait to see you all at a webinar again soon. And until then, I hope you have an absolutely beautiful end to your day.